Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we're going to talk about probably my favorite green leader, or at least the one I've been the most excited for in a long time. It is the Aandroidd 20 and Dr. Mew, which turns into the Hellfighter 17, which turns into the Super 17. And I want to say, like, before you click off this video, that this deck takes a lot of reading. It takes a lot of understanding for how the deck works and everything else. And if you look at any of the pieces individually, they all seem bad. I'm not going to lie. Like, looking at this deck the first time I did, I didn't think I was going to be excited for this deck, and I didn't think it was going to be very good either. I just felt like it was going to be another bad green deck. But after playing with it and doing some testing and just looking at how the cards do, because you do have to like stare at these cards for a while to know what they do, I think it's good. I think it's again the most excited I've been for like a green deck in a long time, and I'm just kind of excited about it. So we're gonna go over kind of like the main new cards, pretty much like how the leader, the Z stack, and the Z leaders work, and then we're gonna show a deck list at the end for those curious. So going over to the start of it, we do have Aandroidd 20 and Dr. Mew. So when this card attacks, look at top 5 cards from your deck, add up to 1 Aandroidd or Machine Mutant, both green with energy cost of 6 or less to your hand. So pretty much a draw 1, helps you find your pieces, which this deck really does care about finding, specifically the 1-drops to help you get there, because it also has this awakening condition of when your life is at 4 or less, or when you have 2 or more energy, when 1 or more Aandroidd 17 and Hellfighter 17 cards are in your Z energy and battle area, you get to draw 2 cards and flip this over. So you do not get any energy back for this, but it is a draw 2. And then on the back side here, it is this Hellfighter 17. And honestly, like this backside of the leader is like why I thought this deck was going to be bad for such a long time, because this leader itself is pretty underwhelming for what it does. It just says when this card attacks, you get to draw 1 card, and also activate main for once per turn, add up to 1 card from your life to your hand, and choose up to one of your opponent's unisons, remove a marker from it, which is pretty. I still wish it was like 2 markers or something, especially since a lot of decks don't have unisons. But then also activate main once per turn, place 1 card from underneath one of your Super 17 cards underneath this card or under this card. And then also for the turn, reduce the skill cost of Z Awakens on Super 17, ready to absorb in your Z deck by 1 green. So being able to do this means that you can go into your Z leaders, and that's really what sells this deck. But also, like, there's 3 of them, and they're also pretty confusing in the same way. So that is like the idea. So being able to have an activate main that if you're at 5 life, you can go down to 4 life for free is actually pretty good. It just stinks. Like, I wish the effect was a little bit better, but I digress. So here is like the first one here. So this is Super 17, ready to absorb. It's for 2 green energy and 2 Z energy, but you can also just do it for the 2 green, or 1 green and 2 Z energy if you use the leader effect. Z stack for 2 green Super 17 leaders, so it means that you put the other 2 underneath it. Technically, you can put the same ones, but whatever. And then also, auto at the end of your opponent's turn, place this card from underneath your Z leader on top of your leader, which makes sense like when we go through this a little bit more. But pretty much it just means that at the start of your turn, you always start with this guy. And then it has activate main once per turn, place up to 1 green Aandroidd card with energy cost of 1 from your deck, or drop underneath this card and shuffle your deck if you looked through it. So important there as well is that it is an effect that doesn't like get you a +1, but the reason that you put the cards underneath it is important as well. So just you have to like see all the pieces together for this, because again, looking at this Z leader, it doesn't look very impressive. For 2, you get to not draw when you attack anymore, and you just put cards underneath it. But we have these other 2 Z leaders which are pretty good. So we have Super 17 bound by blood. Normally you can Z awaken here for 2 life or less, and then it's for 4 energy between 2 green and 2 colorless, and 3 Z energy, but you use the Z stacked effect to put it underneath your leader. Auto, if your Aandroidd 18 card is underneath your, if an Aandroidd 18 card is underneath your leader, which you can get there either with the previous Z effect, or technically if it somehow winds up underneath a Super 17, you can do it, but and you place 1 card from under Super 17 in your battle area and its owner's drop. At the end of your turn, place this card from underneath your leader on top of your leader. So pretty much this is like the defensive one. At the end of your turn, you get to go into a 20k, which is quite good. And then it has these 2 autos as well. So once per turn, when opponents attack, you can choose up to 1 of your Super 17 cards and switch it to active mode. Pretty much the Super 17s are barrier blockers, so which means that you can attack, and then you can, at the end of your turn, you get them. If you use this auto, you can use them as blockers again. And then also auto once per turn if it's your opponent's turn as well. When your opponent switches one of their energy to rest mode, choose up to 1 of their battle cards at a cost of 4 or less and KO it. So this is with anything. So if this is, they're always going to tap energy, right? They're always going to be playing stuff. They're always going to be paying for stuff. So you just get to pop something for less, which is fine too. But also just being a 20k leader that you get to be at starting on 4 life is pretty strong in its own right as well. I think that's really good, and it just helps the deck as well. So that's like the defensive one, and then we also have the offensive one. So we have Super 17 Diabolical Union. So auto, once per turn when this card attacks, you get to draw 1, which is quite nice. Also, once per turn auto, if it's your turn, when an opponent's energy is switched to rest mode again, this could be you attack, then they use a negate, and they use an energy for it. Then you get to restand this leader, and then choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring cost, and KO it. So that's really strong in its own right as well. So being able to do all of these effects, essentially giving your leader dual attack, or making it so they can't negate your attack. Like if they try to negate this attack, that's just happening. It's like whenever. So it's pretty much the same as like the old like SS4 Vegeta, where like anytime they activate a counter, as long as they have to pay energy for it, or pay energy for literally anything else, like a Sensu Bean technically pays energy. So if they use Sensu Bean, you get to restand your leader once per turn. All of that is very great. And also activate main. If a cell is underneath your leader and you place one card from underneath a Super 17 from your battle area to the owner's drop, place this card from underneath your leader on top of your leader. So this is kind of how the cycling works, where this goes on top of your leader. You just have to have the cell underneath there. And again, the original leader, even though it's just a 15k for auto once per turn, you can place either a 18 or cell underneath it, and they don't go away afterwards. They do. We'll go into the deck list in just a minute to go over the cards themselves, but they just kind of stay there. They have ways to get rid of them if you need them to, but the fact that this card doesn't inherently draw isn't a big deal, because what the Diabolical Union does as well. And also it stays like this until the end of your opponent's turn. So you almost always want to do cell first, because that will give you access to this. You'll be a 20k on your opponent's turn, and then the turn after that you can use Bound by Blood to get this as a 20k on your turn as well, as long as you want to do the Super 17 stuff too. So, but I think Diabolical Union is definitely the better one of the two, just because it doesn't, like, it can be defensive too, because at worst case you still are just a 20k on your opponent's turn, but it's just very strong. So that's kind of how that works. I know I've been talking for like 5 minutes to go over it, which is probably why a lot of people, including myself, were kind of turned off by this leader, but I think it's very good. I'm really excited about it, and I want to talk about it a little bit more. So let's go over to the deck list itself. All right, here's my example list. I will say this is probably a safer build of it, and there are a lot of ways to build into it. I think if people want to do like the green-yellow stuff, there's honestly a lot of support that this kind of gets with it too, that I haven't explored personally, but I think there's a lot of space for exploring a lot of these older cards, especially the Super 17 Total Eclipse is such a good card. Having Barrier, and then when this card attacks or is placing your drop area by skill, you get to draw one card and then switch something to rest mode, which can include energy and unisons and leaders. So like all of this stuff is just great. It's just any card, which is really good. But we're just going to go over this kind of idea. So first, the Aandroidd 18s and cells. So I think this card's good. I see a lot of people just run like 2 of these, but like it's a free 5k combo every time of just limit 1, send this card from underneath your Super 17 Z leader to its warp, and then one of your leaders gets plus 5k for the battle, so you become 25k for free, which is quite good. There's also the cell. It's essentially a Champa double strike that you get for to find for free too, which is really cool too. So I like him as well. Obviously, you just need both of them underneath your Z leaders, so you can do your cycling around them, but that's the idea for that. And then you have the Super 17 lines as well. Best card to start the game with is the Hellfighter 17, the Brainwasher. You get to play this for 1, you get to draw a card, and then you can use the effect to get the the Aandroidd 17 Brainwashed Fighter out. It's a 1-drop with Barrier, which gets its Barrier at the end of your turn. So it's kind of like, you know, the Vegeta and Trunks, kind of like the father-son kind of stuff. And then we essentially just want to go into Super 17 whenever you want. So it's a 20k blocker for 1 green, limit 1. If you have 3 or more energy and you choose 1 Hellfighter 17 in your Z energy, and 1 is the Aandroidd 17 card in your battle area, you get to draw 1 card, play this card from your hand, place the cards chosen with the skill underneath this card, and this gains a double strike and a barrier. So being able to get the double strike barrier is great. You get a 20k swing, and then if you end your turn with the Super 17 Bound by Blood, you're able to use the effect to put a card from underneath it, you get to restand it, and you get another blocker with it, and it seems pretty good there too. So that's kind of how you use this deck. You do have like these 3-drop ones as well. So essentially they both get to play for 1 if you get to their conditions. This one, any of the Hellfighters just have effects to use it to put them into your Z energy or swap it into your Z energy, because it being in Z energy is kind of important. Aandroidd 17 misused power. The same thing where if you have 4 or more energy and you place this card from underneath a Super 17 in its owner's drop, you get to restand an 8-drop, which is great. The 8-drop puts a lot of power into this deck too. So 30k blocker, same thing, you pay it for 2 and you have to have 4 or more energy, and you have to have the 17s in the right places. But you get to play this card from your hand, put 2 pieces underneath it, and this gains double strike, barrier, and dual attack. So this is a 30k dual strike, double attack. It just is a lot of pressure. And then if you, for 1 more green, you can make it a triple attack too. So all of that's really great for it. And then at the when a card is placed from underneath this card into his owner's drop area by a leader skill, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, KO it, and your opponent discards 1 card from their hand. So you can go into this, then you can use the Super 17 Diabolical Union to put a card underneath it to get into it, which means that you do also get the additional powers and stuff for it. So it's just very good. Overall, very, very good, and puts a lot of pressure. And then you can, again, restand it as a barrier blocker next turn and just kind of go from there. All the effects are very good. So more support cards. The last one I want to talk about is Dr. Mew, Vengeful Alliance. Activate main for 1. If your leader is green Super 17, you have 4 or more energy. You place this card from your hand into your drop. Play up to 1 17 and Hellfighter 17 from your drop with its skills negated. Both of them are 1. So you get to just reset your pieces essentially for 0 energy just by discarding that card. So that's good for like turn 4 if you need help getting up to that. Secret Rare I decided was going to be Cell Xeno, just because you have a lot of good ways to get to 12. Obviously, with the 8-drop, you can play also the 4-drop Hellfighter Aandroidd 17 as well. You can just play this for 1 as long as you have 2 or more energy. And then this also is this is like a more expensive version of Dr. Mew, but it's when you have 2 or more energy, so that's kind of nice. You also have like the 6-drop Super 17, which works really well with either like the Sun Gohan or with the Sun Goku Faded Rivals. So like this card just still removes a card with barrier for 2, and we are running Defending Father Paragus as our super combo. We don't have a lot of Saiyan, so you do have to be careful about that. But being able to cycle it back into your deck, and you put the super combo to the bottom of your deck, but then also you can just say for free, you get a free shuffle every turn with this deck, which is why it's really nice. So you put this Defending Father Paragus to the bottom of your deck, sure, but then you get to use the effect of your your Z battle card, your Z leader, of saying just activate main once per turn, place up to 1 green Aandroidd from your deck or drop underneath it if you shuffle your deck, if you look through it. So you get a free shuffle every time. So you're able to do Faded Rivals for 2, put a super combo to the bottom of your deck, you get a free shuffle, and you also get a lot of free deck thinning as well. So let's say late game you don't need these 1-drops anymore, you can just put them underneath your leader and then you're fine. It's 1 less card in your deck and you're 1 closer to finding either your secret rare or more super combos or whatever else you're kind of looking for there too. So Aandroidd 17 Impending Crisis, I love this card. I love this card a lot because it's from the cell loop stuff that I used to do, but being able to play it for 1 and put an Aandroidd with a cost of 4 less into your drop area is good enough. The fact that it's a negate is good. The fact that it's just called Aandroidd 17 is good. And the other Aandroidd 17 card we talk about is Hell's Guidance. So first part doesn't really matter because we're not a yellow leader, but it has an activate main once per turn. Just limit 1. Choose up to 1 Super 17 in your battle area. Place this card from it underneath it. So being able to get a free card underneath your Super 17s every turn is really strong, especially since you have to have a lot of effects that let you do those. So you want to like early play Aandroidd 17 to put that underneath there, and you can just play this for 1 and then you get to put it underneath there, and all of your union things still want you to have an Aandroidd 17 out, so sometimes you just won't see this guy, so being able to do that is quite nice there too. I think that is most of the things I want to talk about. Also, this is like this is BT5. This is an old card, but if you're a green Aandroidd card, this lets you just draw 2 for 1, which is good enough for what it is. So choose up to 2 total Aandroidd 17s, Hellfighters, and Super 17s, and add them to your hand. So that can be good in its own way. But I think that's all the cards I want to talk about for this one. Z-Deck's pretty thin because you only have a 4-card one. So surmounting, just because we're a deck, if you don't have room for this card, you don't have it, you're fine, because our leader still awakens too. Jiren's just a good card. Frieza can be good as well. It gets a destruction. It's a double strike and a discard of energy too. So a card from hand with its effect, which is quite nice. I don't know. It's just it looks like a really cool deck. You get to make some like really cool lines. You seem to have like a lot of inherent card advantage too, which is nice. And the fact that like you're always going to be like a 20k leader with a lot of cool effects, I think is really neat as well. We're running 52. It's probably a little bit too much. Again, a lot of people are running two of this. There's probably a good reason for it, but it just feels like this is like it's a free draw, right? Like you get a free 5k combo once every turn. So like, why would you not want to just fill your deck with these just to get more potential for that? And I think that's strong, but maybe there's something I'm missing for it. Paragus feels good as well. Again, with all you can loop this card very easily, which is dumb for one of the best super combos in the game to just be able to do that. I think that's strong too. And I think that's all I really want to say. I'll probably try to make a deck with this version of it. I think it's strong and does really neat things, and can go into this guy, and that's good too. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. But that's going to be it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you made it this far, thank you very much. I know this is a lot of just explaining what cards do, but this is a really neat archetype, and I'm really excited to kind of go over it, be playing it more, and I hope you guys are too. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.